Welcome to Side Note. I'm Nishay. In this episode, Danny Day and I are discussing the miseducation of consent and seduction. We talk about how the wrong messages are often taught beginning in childhood. We share our personal experiences, and for any listeners who may be sensitive, the conversation does get sexually explicit. We hope that in sharing our stories, you'll be encouraged to open a dialogue with your friends and loved ones, and awareness will bring about a positive change. Thanks for joining us.
We were talking about how from young, the whole idea of like hug auntie, hug uncle, go sit with uncle. Uncle wants to hold you or whatever. Like I remember with my kids, especially because we lived in like intentional communities at times where we all lived working around a common goal. So there were different people there. It was so important to me that my child never felt like he had to go to anybody that he didn't want to go to.
Yes.
I'm not about to tell my child to hug somebody or kiss somebody to make that person feel good.
Yep.
And to make my child look like a good little angel when like, that's your body, that's your person.
No.
But the other thing you were,
wrong message over
it does.
and over again.
Yes, it really does.
And it can be completely up to them. And I think that's the thing. Like, well, you hugged him last time, but you have to hug him this time. No.
Right.
No, you don't.
Nope.
You don't have to. And I need you to know that. And somebody else can hug you last time and not hug you this time. And that's their business.
Yeah. And it's whatever your prerogative is. Like, it could just be that today you don't feel like being touched. It doesn't even have to be that that person isn't a good person. It's just today you don't feel like that.
You don't feel like it. You don't feel like
it's important to really teach our children that fact. Like, you don't have to, your person is yours, and you don't have to parlay it in any way to gain, you know, love or favor or any of those things. Like, it's your person.
Yeah.
And the other thing you were talking about though was like between boys and girls. I do feel like there's this thing where we're taught, and I think especially for boys, like this conquest, or like if she's saying no, like, you know, wear it down, you know, like she'll say no this time, but like you just be persistent. And that's, you know, I don't think anybody teaches their kids that around anything other than like just if they like a girl, you know, to be persistent. But and then with girls, like the idea, I remember being told as a kid, not by my mom, but by teachers even, saying, oh, well, he just did that because he likes you.
Yep.
He likes you. Like, that's why
he likes you.
Yeah. And
that's the wrong message.
You know, I do feel like there's more awareness around that now, and people say those things less, but it's still ingrained in the generation that, you know, you know,
I agree. And I think too with women, I don't know what the conversation is with younger girls now, but I know, you know, we used to hear it like, let him chase you. And there's levels to that, right? There's on one hand, you don't just like throw yourself at someone, but on the other side, like, don't play games. Don't teach him that you play games. Don't give him that training. Let him know how you feel. It's okay to let a person know how you feel.
Oh yeah.
You know?
Oh yeah.
And I think that even for us as adults, like, we need to change how we communicate and what we accept as honest, true communication.
I agree.
Between each other.
I agree.
Think that is part of the misconception, is like, oh, you know, well, she said no, but she meant yes. No, she meant no. And she means it today. Even if she said yes last week, she means no this week. I don't know if you've seen, there's this video that likens consent to offering somebody a cup of tea.
No, I haven't seen
amazing. So it's like done as a cartoon. It's really, it actually like makes you chuckle, but then it's like, yeah, that's for real. Cause it's like, okay, if you offer someone a cup of tea, right? You go in, you make the cup of tea and you take it into them, and they drink the cup of tea and they like it and it's good and it's great because they wanted the cup of tea. But if you offer them a cup of tea, you go make the tea, you come back and give it the cup of tea, and they decide they don't want the tea anymore, then you don't force them to drink the cup of tea. Right? If you offer someone a cup of tea and they say yes, and then they fall asleep, you don't make them drink the cup of tea because they fell asleep. If you offer someone a cup of tea and they start drinking the cup of tea and they fall asleep in the middle of drinking the cup of tea, you don't force them to drink the cup of tea. If someone said yes to a cup of tea last Saturday, but now they don't want a cup of tea on Tuesday, you don't force them to drink a cup of tea. Like it just goes into this like, hello, you know?
And it should be that obvious, right? That's the question that I have is like,
girl, it's like, not funny, but it's like, yes, duh.
You know, and it I think it goes into that area where when you want something and you're driven in a certain way, then like you're going to find whatever way to justify that thing. And we see it in all types of, like, even food.
All types of ways.
Well, you know, I did my workout yesterday and like, you know, even though I'm on my diet, like I could eat it. Like we will rationalize.
Waffle last night.
Girl.
I almost made a whole waffle last night at 11 o'clock at night and I had to talk to myself.
Girl.
That's a really good example. Yeah.
Girl. Like food will do it to you, or even drinking. Like you could be like, oh no, like I have felt terrible every time I've had a drink. I'm not having no more. Like, you know, I'm dry right now.
This is my limit. Yeah.
Yeah. Or even like, cause I've had that where I'm like, I'm not like, I don't think I should at all. Like it doesn't treat me well. And then you'd be like, oh, but you know, it's more social and it's friends or party. Yeah. So whatever, like it seems that the base desire is, if it's strong enough, and we live in a culture that makes that call so freaking strong. It's ridiculous.
And immediate gratification is how we've been trained now. Yep.
And so we'll find ways to justify something that should be as obvious as, would you like a cup of tea? No? Oh, okay. Well, I'll keep my tea bags in the cabinet and you won't have to look at them.
A cup of tea. I think that's like, girl, because every conversation that I've had, and like maybe we should tell our stories of like lack of consent. Like in my situation, I was at a party. You know, we were it was a bunch of us. We were out of town. I had sex with one person at the party, and that's the only person that I had planned on having sex with at the party. After we had sex, we went into the living room. We were socializing, and he and I fell asleep on the floor in the living room. I woke up in the morning, and he was behind me having sex with me. And when he got up and went to the bathroom, it was not even him. It was a different person.
Oh my goodness.
And when this person came out of the bathroom, I was like, what just happened? And he was like, you wanted it. Why didn't you stop me? And I was like, I thought you were someone else.
Yeah.
You were not here when I fell asleep.
Yeah.
You know? And there's no denying it felt good. I enjoyed myself. All of the above. I never said no because I thought you were someone else. You know? And then so that already had me jacked up. I had no way to process that. I had no, I didn't know what happened. And then when I talked to one of my friends who was there that weekend, she was just like, how did you not know who it was? He was behind me.
And you had fallen asleep.
I had fallen asleep. And they had the same build, same, you know, we were under, like literally like under a blanket. Because you know how you do when you're young and stupid and you're like, there's people everywhere and you're still trying to sneak and do stuff you're supposed to be doing. Well, I don't know, you know. You know.
I know.
And I can't be like, and I was just this, no, I knew what I was doing.
Yeah.
Except I didn't know who I was doing it with.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And that's a perfect example of like, when I look back at it now, it's like he knew what he was doing.
Yeah.
He blamed it on me and I accepted the blame. And when I tell you, I pushed that so far into my subconscious that I had completely forgotten about it
Mm-hmm.
until they were that guy that they were trying to put on the Supreme Court. This guy last year,
Comey or
Comey,
yeah, Comey.
And this woman was testifying about what he had done to her at a party,
Mm-hmm.
and that's when the memory resurfaced for
Girl.
me.
Mm-mm-mm.
And thankfully, I was in a place in my life where I was able to totally process it, and it wasn't like it didn't
Yeah.
freak me. I was just like, like when I remembered it, I was just like, oh my gosh.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I tell you, the two responses are interesting too. Like the guy himself deflecting and being like, well, you wanted it and this and that, when he knows he was wrong.
He
I
had to
hope
know. There's
he had
no
to know he
way
was wrong,
he didn't know.
you know? And then even for the friend to be like, how could you not know? How could you? Believe me, that them things happen. Like, especially, yeah, especially when you're young, especially when there's any drinks involved, especially when you're in like a party situation where things can kind of be a little wild and crazy, especially when you're sleeping, you know, like, yeah. And that's why a lot of people don't say anything,
That's why.
you know,
That's why.
because there's that type of response.
For me, I was not supposed to be at a co-ed party.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't supposed to be doing that. I wasn't
Mm-hmm.
supposed to be in, you know, doing those things. I was
Mm-hmm.
supposed to be, you know,
Yeah.
a nice young girl. I wasn't married, you know,
Mm-hmm.
but mostly because I wasn't supposed to be at a party where boys were there.
Mm-hmm.
There was only supposed to be girls there. And
I
even with
see.
that, I don't know if I would have. I mean, clearly, I didn't tell anybody. There were no adults that I felt like I could tell. And then once
Right.
my friend had, what's the word? You know, like made it like, what are you talking about? Like, how did you not know? Like, once my friend said that, then
Yeah.
where did I have to go from there?
Yeah.
You know? In my young
Seriously.
brain, like, I couldn't process that at all. And I remember being very ashamed of it for a while, but at some point, I completely immersed it.
Mm-hmm. That's what we do.
Immersed it. And I'm pretty sure it bubbled up in other places because I did have like some severe anxiety for years and years and years. Like I had anxiety.
Yeah. It makes me wonder, like I was thinking about it the other day because I can think of so many situations that I was in where someone like touched me like I remember being in high school and I remember I was stretching. I was on the track team and I was stretching. And this actually happened once in high school and then something similar happened in college, but I handled it very different in college because I was older and I'd already gone through it in high school. But I'm stretching, and you know, back then you're wearing your little shorts because I'm a track girl. I run hard and I want to look good, and so I got my little shorts on. And I'm doing all this, you know.
The bodies
And
them track girls had. Like,
look, all you want to do is
I
just
work for this.
look at it. Yep. But look at it. Even in looking at it, don't mean touch.
Yeah.
And
Not an invitation.
oh no. And I remember I was stretching and this guy who was like really attractive, popular guy, played football, you know, put his hand between my legs, like, and touched me, like, and intentionally, like, got underneath my underwear. And when I turned around, like, it was really bizarre what he did.
Yeah.
Like, and then he like, is this too much? I don't even know if this is too much, but, and then he put his finger in his mouth.
Wow.
And like made some comment about like I knew it tastes good. I gotta come back and get some more of that or some mess like that. First of all, like I was dating his friend. It was weird. So in that situation, so inappropriate.
So many levels.
And I knew it then, but I felt like I didn't know what to do because they were a pretty close knit group of guys.
See,
I felt like it would have caused a lot of trouble. I felt like
you wanted to protect everybody.
I did. And I think there was also the aspect of like, this is like a popular, like this is a guy that a lot of girls wanted and liked. And I even knew that if I told some of my female friends, there would be some kind of weird blowback on me because of that. Like, he was attractive. Everybody liked him. You know, he was that guy. And
wow.
I remember feeling so like perplexed. I knew it was wrong, but I remember feeling so perplexed. Like what is that constant? I didn't know what that
Can't wrap
meant.
your brain around it.
Yeah.
And you know what? I wonder, like, now that you're saying that, I wonder if, like, in both of our situations, we didn't take it as trauma or that we were a victim, but we knew something was wrong.
Was wrong, yes.
So there's this space where it's like, no, I don't feel traumatized. I don't feel traumatized, and I don't feel like a victim, but I definitely know something was not right about that. You know?
Oh, yeah.
You did something that you shouldn't have been doing.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I really think that piece right there is super important. How do you feel afterward? After something like during and afterward, like, even if in the moment you kind of just go along with it and you're feeling strange and you're going along with it, that's already enough to me. Like, that feeling of just like, I don't want to be here, but I'm going along with it. But then afterward, that feeling of confusion, and if there's confusion there, I feel like that's pretty obvious in my mind that consent was not achieved.
It was not achieved.
You know?
It was not achieved.
Yeah. I don't feel confused about anything that I willingly and like gave consent to. And if I feel weird about it, it's not because I'm like, what just happened here? It's more, it's different. Like, I know that it's more about our dynamic or whatever else. Like, but when it's just that, whoa, I don't even know what exactly just happened. I don't feel like I can tell anybody or ask anybody if they think that this constitutes this thing that, you know, I'm afraid to even name. Like, when, like, you know, to bring up I May Destroy You, it took a long time for her to even be able to say that she was raped. Like, she didn't even want to say those words, you know? And I mean, there were countless, honestly, like, this is the part that frightens me real quick. It's just like, that same guy, he's married now. He has kids. Some of those kids are girls. And in my mind, I'm like, what happens to the guy that does something like that? Like, because statistics say that, like, most of these are not reported at all.
And
what is
it?
Like,
one-offs.
No.
They're not one-offs.
No. I honestly think the type of girl that I was at that time and how I presented myself, I honestly think that I would not have been his first try at that at all. I think that
a bunch of times before.
Oh yeah. I don't think I would have been his first try. And it was in broad daylight at practice.
That's a
surrounded by people.
That's a level of bold that unfortunately comes along with talent. Not saying that all people that are talented, but there's this level of bold, especially like when from young they've been told, you go after what you want and you get it, and you don't stop until you get it. Yes. And it's like, but not that.
Yeah, not that. That's true. That's why the whole idea of looking at relationship or like conquest as like a game or something like that, because you want to take the victory, you want to like win at whatever cost for a lot of people. And like, I don't know, I feel like that analogy to it being, you know, like, I wouldn't encourage my daughter to play games, because this isn't a game, and you don't want anybody thinking this is a game, because at the end of the game, what's the prize? Rarely is it ever the prize is all of me in my smartness and my, you know, creativity. No, the prize is like something more localized, you know, and you know, that idea that it's some kind of a game or a conquest will have a situation where you have people just trying to rack in numbers, you know, just trying to rack in numbers.
And not taught to, and because in those situations, you're not taught to ask questions from either side.
Right.
You know, and I don't like to, you know, go with men and women, because I've had someone tell me years after us being in a relationship that I did something at one point that they felt uncomfortable with. And for me in that situation, it was like, my question was like, why are you just now telling me this?
Yeah.
And I did question, like, are you just adding this to the list of things that you're complaining about over the scope of our relationship? But at the same time, I was like, I'm sorry. I would never have done anything to, you know, to try to make you uncomfortable. And in the
Right.
future, you should speak up and say so. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
if you're in an uncomfortable situation, or if you don't want to do something. And this is, you know, this is a grown man I was
Yeah.
talking to.
Yeah.
So there are, you know, this is not just like a male female thing, you know, and there
That's
are
true.
ways that, you know, we can create discomfort around other people that can be hurting in ways that we don't even realize it, you know.
That's
But
so
I will
true.
say, like, what's being taught though is not to ask questions. Like, we're not teaching, we don't teach we teach our children, like, don't ask too many questions, you
Yeah.
know.
No, it's
Don't,
true.
you know. And then they
It's
get
true.
older, and then like with like, let's say like a guy likes a girl, right? And instead of him being taught to say, hey, you know, I like you, do you like me too, and her being taught to answer honestly, yeah, you know, we're teaching this, like you said, like this weird game of like cat and mouse that's
Oh,
not cool at all.
I mean, there was a time when I felt pretty like good at that game. You know, I felt pretty good at that
Pretty
game.
savvy at it.
Yeah, like I felt like I could, you know, and not necessarily like, it wasn't even for me, it wasn't even about winning anything. It was more that while they're trying to run game on me, like I felt a level of control in the situation or whatever. I felt, I don't know. It's a weird like place to be when you're a young woman trying to like stretch your little fledgling womanly wings, because you can get yourself into some situations where you are out of your depth. And
Completely.
yeah, like I can even think of I remember I had a friend who was talking about how, I guess a conversation came up. We were talking about men and women, and how most of the women, myself included, were like, yeah, I'm so sick of how when you know, men don't know how to take no for an answer and all this other stuff. And he said to me, he was just saying like, I can't tell you how many women I've been with where at the end of the night, I wasn't trying to have sex. I wasn't trying to do them things. And it's almost like me not trying to get that from them almost made them want me to. And when I said no, and I was like, nah, you know, I'm gonna go home and I'm gonna, like, he was like, it's like, it gets to a point where you almost feel like you're gonna hurt her feelings or something if you don't, you know?
You want to know why?
Why?
They talked about this on Red Table Talk, right? The episode with Amber Rose and Rumor Millis. They talked about how women our need for affirmation in regards to our body. We feel like if a man shows us that he wants our body,
Yes.
it's affirming for us, even if it's not healthy for us. Even if it puts us in unhealthy situations, if in our mind we're like, oh, I'm not worthy, I'm not this, I'm not that. But then a man comes for our bodies, we're like, oh, well, he wants me. And
That's
because
so true.
men and women want sex for different reasons, right?
Yeah.
It's just, that's just what it is. We want sex for different reasons. And because of that, it creates a miscommunication.
Ooh,
So again, in one of those situations, instead of saying to a guy like, you know, I feel like you know, the story I'm telling myself is that you don't like me because you're not trying to have sex with me, and giving him the opportunity to say so.
Yeah.
We're instead taught to seduce them. to find out
that's the word.
how they feel about us.
Yeah, yeah. And I feel like a lot of people don't really like to talk about that aspect. Like I think it is important to look at both sides of like I don't want to just say that coercion and that blurred lines of consent only happens one way to another.
No.
Even though we see that our culture has set up a certain scenario where it happens.
Yeah. She wants to see these teachers that are coming after these little boys.
Yeah.
Seduction is deception.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. How many boys have had their first sexual experience be with a woman that was older than them? And so many, girl. And then they felt like they couldn't say no, because you have in a lot of situations where it's like an authority figure, like it's the babysitter or your mom's friend or whatever. And then there's also the component of like what it means for some men in their minds to be a heterosexual red-blooded male.
Yep.
Like, you're not supposed to say no. This older woman came to you and tried to finesse you, and you said no. Yeah. What are you, some kind of prude? And then it turns into this, and you can't complain about it either. You can't like say, yo, I feel violated. Like something happened to me just now. People are going to look at you. I can't tell you how many times on like in the comments, like I saw this video where they were talking about the young man who had a sexual relationship with the teacher. Then the teacher went to jail, and then when she got out, they got together and they're married now or whatever.
Mary Kay Letourneau, she passed away.
Yes, she did. I didn't know that.
She got out of jail and they got remarried, and then they got divorced. But their children are like big girls now.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw so many comments there that were like, she did him a favor. Like, what do you mean? What kid in that age group isn't fantasizing about an older woman? Like, I mean,
it's such a thin line. Even the laws in regards to rape, it includes seduction, right? So I think that there are some young boys that are like, I'm gonna go for this. Like she's showing it, and I'm going after it. But there's some that are like, I don't know what to do.
Right.
It's the same thing. There's this gray area, like some, and it's for the person. Like the law defines it in a lot of places where it's like the person who's in control.
Yeah.
Of the situation, whoever that might be, whether they be the older person, the wiser person, there's always clearly someone in that dynamic that is taking the lead.
Yep.
And whoever that person is, that person has to make a wise choice that's healthy. And a lot of times the person in control, when they're wielding their power, doesn't make a wise decision.
Yeah. Oh yeah.